Hello and welcome to Portal Stormer. My name is Kelly Proudfoot, and this video is just going to be talking about negative self-talk. I've talked about it before on my website and a couple of videos I've uploaded here on Portal Stormer, but I've always done negative self-talk. I just wasn't aware of it until it actually came to a head in I think it was 2019. I was working in a job where I had a psychotic box. I've had I've had a few jobs like that. I think we all have, but this person was, a chameleon on steroids. I mean, he'd come in the morning, he'd be all pleasant, and then 15 minutes later he was on a tear about something you didn't do. It was just, you never knew where you stood with him. So I think he was a big trigger, even though I protected myself, or tried to, from him. One day it was just, I'd already started dragging my knuckles to work. It was just looking for something else at the time, but it was a good job. I was I was in charge of the hiring and the setting up of the interviews and the onboarding and the blah 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 HR kind of role. But he was a psycho. He might have had issues too. When he was nice, just like my mother, he was wonderful. We got along like a house on fire. But then, when you got someone coming at you like with a tomahawk, not literally, but that's how I felt. He would come at you just with this rage and often projecting, of course. But anyway, after a while, there was one morning again, I was in the shower and just thinking, okay, what have I got to put up with today? What I have to gird my loins? And I started just cascading and just thinking about all the things I hadn't done yet. It was that perfectionist in me cracking the whip, just like I used to when I was younger. Like, I can never do anything right, so why bother? But I really started tearing into myself and actually physically started grabbing at my flesh in the shower because I knew I couldn't do anything to, because I still had to get to work. So I was just, as I was grabbing my flesh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're useless, you're fat, you're old, you're, all those things that come out at you. And I didn't realize how vicious I was getting towards myself, to the point where I was crying and really like a demon was trying to get out of me. And of course, there's going to be people out there who say that's what was happening. The call was coming from inside the house. It was me. And all of a sudden, it was like record scratch. It was like my soul or whatever said, enough. And I realized, this is insane. I'm hurting myself while I'm trying to clean myself. Fair enough to go to a job that I loathe. But in order to get a grip on myself, I had to talk to myself like a drill sergeant. It was that stoic side, of course. And I had to just focus everything into just what I was doing in the shower, so I wasn't thinking those thoughts and then therefore attacking myself. So it was, I am now washing my armpits, I'm now washing this, I'm now rinsing this, I'm now turning the shower off, I'm now drying. I kept talking with myself like that, like robot mode, and managed to get myself to work. But it was during that drive to work, which is only a short drive, but I realized, okay, this is it. I'm hurting myself. What is this? So that was a whole lesson I learned about myself. But one thing that I'm still struggling with, and I'm so glad I went to the Penrell Ridge Retreat Centre, because I really did drag myself through a self-imposed hell, but it was needed because I had to burn off all this crap. Because not only with the complex post-traumatic stress disorder issues I had that I'd never actually named or addressed, just thought something's wrong with me and I can't be fixed. But once I learned all these things, and yeah, actually I was badly affected by my childhood, even though I would never fully drag her over the coals, I am going to talk about it just to get it out. And I know that the flow on of what I dealt with has flowed on to others in my life, and God, just the idea of being just a link in that chain and passing it on, which is why I'm trying very much now to try to break that generational thing, the curse, whatever you want to call it. And just, I think a statement I heard just recently was that something like trauma runs in my family until it ran into me. And when I heard that, I just thought, yeah, I can't heal everybody else out there in the world, in my life, whatever, but I can share my story and heal myself at least, because you know what, I'm an old lady, I'm 58, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life being a negative self-talker. But this is what I wanted to talk about. When the negative self-talk becomes weaponized against others, and this is a realization over the last couple of weeks I've had, because I've been very high-powered energy-wise, low food intake, which is odd. I am almost back to normal now, but I'm being careful. But what I've noticed since then, I'm very hyper aware of my behavior, so therefore it's really good in a way, because I'm doing a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy that I didn't know I was doing until my therapist told me, you know what you're doing. So it's awesome, because I'm able to, that's enough, no more of that. And I find this, it's almost like having a personal assistant floating next to me. I've always got something, and it's something I've triggered in myself since the retreat. Every time I start spiraling down, it's why not spiral up, or whatever it is. With the clicking of the finger, it's like my brain gets attention, and it's like, okay, that's enough, you're not doing that, no more. But what I do sometimes, and this is the perfectionist in me, but also just the self-attacking. If there's something in the house I know I should have done, whether it be the dishes, whether it be folding up the recyclables, whatever it is, I'll be thinking about that. Yeah, I'll get to that minute. I've just got this 10th thing to do, this thing to write, whatever, because you know how procrastination is real. But if I hear my husband get up and go into the kitchen, and I think he's going towards the thing that I'm obsessing about having not done, all of a sudden I go into this scenario in my head, and it's got nothing to do with him. Meanwhile, my husband, who's a sweetheart, is, you know, whistling his way through the kitchen, talking to the cats. Hello, Fluffy Butt. Hello, terrible Titch, the tyrant of tyranny. He's got all these beautiful little sayings he says. So he's got his own little word happening there, okay? So keep that in mind. I'm back here. I'm hearing the noise in the kitchen, thinking, oh my God, no, I've got to get in there. He's there, probably thinking, oh my God. You know how you do that? You start thinking on behalf of other people. They're thinking this, therefore that. And before I know it, this is something I've done my whole life, but I've not really noticed it now, so I'm undoing that, unraveling that, which is, okay, it's negative self-talk, but then I start a scenario in my head as if we've already started talking about it, and then I start with that defensive attack. You know, I'm sorry, I know I'll get to, whatever bullshit. Next thing I know, there's a friggin' tirade in my head between the two of us. We're at war. Again, keep in mind, my husband's, just floating through the house. And I realise when I'm doing this thing, it's like, first of all, if you feel that funny about it, get up and go and deal with it, and stop sitting here with this internal tornado. Like I said before, the calls are coming from inside the house. And we luckily had it out a couple of months ago when it was pretty bad. I was reacting by punishing myself in front of him, whether it was verbally, well, mostly verbally, but the realization, he had to point it out to me, but also, and we're good, that's cool, we sorted that out. It's like, okay, but I'm ultra sensitive to noise, so every time I hear anything, I'm thinking, what's going on? I've always got to think I've got to jump on it. Lately I'm getting better and better at just let it float by me. I don't have to be responsible for everything, and I don't have to be reactionary to everything. And that's snapping my fingers. Really get a grip. If it's a problem, stop this worry and go and deal with it. Otherwise, understand he's just going to get himself a cookie, patting the cats, and going back into his office to do his work. So why are you allowing yourself to whip up this frenzy that was born from feeling guilty because you haven't done something? And that's all on you, that's all on me, so I'm thinking that to myself. And I wanted to share that with people because, especially if you're the type of person who does the negative self-talk, I understand what that's like, because it's almost like someone's living rent-free in your head. The person or people who triggered all this for you when you were a kid or whenever, aren't around at the moment, well, hopefully not punishing you still, but you're using them to punish yourself. So I just wanted to say, I understand and I get it, but you really do have to work on yourself by reminding yourself that it's, it's got to compartmentalize things. Okay, I got this going in my head right now, but actually let's push that to the side. What's actually happening? Not my reality, but what's the actuality? And 9 times out of 10, it's nothing to do with whatever you whipped up in your head. And I think a lot of people out there could learn that lesson, especially when it comes to conspiracy theories. If you're not aware that the reason why you're hooking into them is because it's answering something really deep within you that has absolutely nothing to do with the actual conspiracy theory, or might have a little bit. I think a lot of the craziness, whether it is negative self-talk, whether it is lashing out at others in person or on social media, all that projection, if only we took a moment, and I know that's easy to say because we're all on our different journeys, on a different path, at different timelines. Some of us get to a point when we're 15 and we're automatic sages. I've met younger kids, especially these days, who you think these are either old souls, or it gives me, it really does give me faith back in humanity to know there's some good people coming up through the ranks, because we've got a lot of shitty people in this world. But when it comes to the negative self-talk, or the projecting thereof, we're all guilty of it to a degree. And this is something else I wanted to talk about too with narcissists. I always had the notion that a narcissist was an evil person. And yeah, okay, they might seem to have evil intentions and do evil things, but it's got to be born from hurt, surely. Because it dawned on me one day when I was thinking about how we classify people. That's a sociopath, that's a psychopath, and that's a narcissist, and that's a this and that's a that. When we've classified them and categorized them like that, we put them somewhere and say they cannot be changed. We shouldn't ever deal with them at all, but we stop understanding that they're humans too. Now, when it comes to self-preservation, of course you've got to protect yourself. If you know that narcissist is coming at you hammer and tong, of course you're going to protect yourself. But this was the realization I had, and I've sort of had it for a while, but at the Penuel Ridge retreat it hit home. All of us as spirits, let's just think of ourselves as souls. So there's a soul, we're all souls. Good, bad or ugly, we're all souls. And let's, instead of just thinking that's one person, that's all they are, or one-dimensional because I've labelled them as that, let's just think, okay, we're all souls, but we've all got a life. Let's think of it as a rod or a pole or whatever. I just stay with me, because this is how I was thinking about how we assume that only certain types of people exhibit certain types of behaviour. But let's say that each soul is sort of like a shaft of light, let's say, not pole, if you find that offensive, I'm sorry, but a shard of light, a shaft of light, and we're all our souls. Just imagine us all standing around, whatever, grooving, whatever, and all of us have different experiences and different reactions to those experiences, and the way we're raised is nature and nurture. So all the different pivotal events and people and things throughout our lives helps shape who we are as a person, good, bad or ugly, whether we're healing or whether we're hurting or whether we're projecting out to others. So I imagine those shards of light having like a ring around them that travels up and down depending on where we're at in life. And I was thinking to myself, if we at least to try to develop compassion towards others, even those who if we think of all these souls with that ring, it's like a silver ring, let's say, and it floats up and down depending on how we feel, what's going on in our lives, who we're interacting with and other aspects. But there might be a time where the ring comes right down to the base, where you're in survival mode, you're protecting yourself, therefore you're projecting as a psychopath, and other people might look at you at that point who didn't know you, who'd say, yes, that's a psychopath, I'm going to put them in this box from now on, not only me, but I'm going to tell everybody else this is how we're going to treat that person, because that person's been categorized and they cannot no longer have ABC or access to us or whatever. But then that ring goes back up when that person heals, and it turns out they're not that psychopath anymore. They'd gone through a lot of trauma in their past, and they're getting back on their feet. They've got a job and they're doing good work in the community, and they're feeling like they're filling up the hole in the soul. But that person back at Albuquerque's still looking at, oh, that psycho, I remember him 5 years ago, you wouldn't believe it. So then you're spreading that hate based on what you know of that person back then. You haven't seen all the healing they've done, and they've actually come right up, and maybe they will at times in their life drop down into the psychopath role if they had to, if they're put in that position. I think all of us have an amazing capacity to do some really awesome things and some really horrible things. And understanding it from this perspective, at least for me, has really helped me develop compassion for people. There's always going to be a point where, no, I've known this person for a long time, that ring's been right down at the bottom of the base of the soul pole or whatever, the shard of light. The soul has this experience ring coming up and down saying, now I'm taking you to a dark place. Actually, I feel good now. We're around people who are uplifting, and actually I don't feel so bad about the crap that happened to me when I was a kid. So now I've elevated, and I look back and I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed, I can't believe I said those things, did those things, blah blah blah. And I'm going to great pains to explain this because I know myself, this is me being honest, and you know I've got a really horrible resting bitch face, for example. And I've had people tell me, when I first met you I was scared of you. And that really breaks my heart, because when I meet people and I want nothing but the best for this relationship or partnership, whatever it is. I want to get along or la-di-da. But then, if things go south, I can switch very quickly, and that's something I'm trying not to do, because I am very much, especially as a highly sensitive person, the extremes are strong with me. I can go from, and it's not love bombing, but I can go from sweet to all of a sudden, all right, fuck yeah, very quickly. And I know that's a pattern that I learned from my childhood, and it's something that I'm trying to fix. But I can be very judgmental. It could be my 9 destiny. I do look down my nose at people who are stupid, but then let me clarify that. I look down my nose at people who are deliberately stupid. I'm always there to try to help people, but when you just think, I got this person and they know what they're doing, but they're not thick enough to have risen above that level to realize, this could be better, this experience, this exchange, whatever. But at any time in our lives, and I've mentioned this before about when you want forgiveness, well, first you've got to forgive. That was one of the messages I got in the well when Mother Mary came to me. And I realised Mother Mary came to me, whatever, that's in Let It Be. I never even thought of that song because I was amazed with that. You should see that video. But the idea that, first of all, that you've always been enough, what's your problem sort of thing, all that grasping, you realise there's a lot of noise attached to that. But I want to develop a big heart. I'm sorry, this is a bit higgledy-piggledy. I'm sort of all over the shop. I'm just thinking, let's make the most of it. I've got a face on, hey. But trying to develop compassion for others meant that I also had to have compassion for myself, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And in order to be in a position where I can help people, when I can really, with an open heart, help people, I'm not there yet, because I'm still protecting myself, because all the memories and stuff I'm processing, la-di-da. But I know that it's a work in progress. And you know what? Here we are. I'm sitting here talking. I can't remember what else I was going to go on to say. This is just showing my mental state. I'm sort of, rolling all over myself, and it's the energies But I wanted to put this out there just to talk about mental health. There's so many videos out there, people talking about, I wanted to get real. We can cocoon ourselves to make ourselves feel better about the bad things about ourselves and how we might make other people feel, people making excuses for us and everything. I prefer to dust everything off and look at it in the clear light of day and say, what is it? Okay, take the punches. Okay, I stuffed up. Well, this is how I'm going to fix it. And don't turn it into a cascading negative self-talk downward spiral. Like I said, what I do is, that's enough. And when I do that, it's like, okay, I'll behave myself. But I wanted to express that maybe if you feel like it, just consider that sometimes. Think of people as souls. Not there's that bag of flesh who looks like she wants to tear me apart, and you might not understand that she just has gas, and every time she sees you, you're thinking she's going to attack you. Whatever the thing is, think of people as souls. And be honest with yourself. Face the guilt, the shame, the things, the negative sides of yourself, which are natural. We're just human. We're not robots. We can't act accordingly to the instruction manual because there was none. And our parents probably didn't have it either. So it's just a flow on. So stop that generational stuff. But just as an exercise, it's just interesting even, and it works better when you're looking at the people you really can't stand. Look through the flesh bag and see if you can see the soul, the light in the eyes. Now, there are some people out there who don't have that light, who are just like dead fish eyes, but you don't know. That connection probably isn't happening because they're fencing themselves in because of trauma. That consideration for each other, that compassion we need to have. Now, I'm all airy-fairy until someone comes trying to break into my house, and then I'll go warrior mode. But one thing, I'm not having to be in warrior mode all the time. I've got to remember that. What I need to also remember is if I can't be the nice person, if someone's coming at me, because I know I'm bad with my words, I'm very cutting, and I hate that, but when I do it, it's the do or die mentality that came from having to push back against my mother when she was attacking me. But lately I've been trying my best to soften that. But I still, even with people I don't like, and I look at them as a soul, and I think, well, okay, there were times when that person was open, helping people, and then there was that time when they were real, see you next Tuesday. So I then equate that to myself. Can I say that about myself? Oh, absolutely. I'm sure there are people who have called me a see you next Tuesday several times. I'm sure there are people out there who might still think that of me, but I'm not saying because I was doing something deliberately heinous to them. It's just as we go through life, we don't often monitor our behaviour. Oftentimes it's just one foot ahead of the other. But just thinking of people as souls, first and foremost, if then you decide, yeah, they're a soul, but that ring's right on the ground and it's actually drilling down to hell, you need to put that soul aside and say, not today. So I hope this was helpful. I'm a waffler and I apologise, but I really hope to be able to, race minds with other people and talk about this kind of stuff. And I have a couple of friends that we've been talking about doing some interviews and some chat about healing self-trauma or whatever we feel like. And I hope you'll be here to see it. And if you did like the video, please like the video and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Thank you.